you are going to have more than 80%, according to our route of today. You are going to have a beautiful, spectacular, scenic view going by. And at the end of this creek, the name of the creek is Omis Creek. At the end of the creek, as a joke, the local people are claiming the shortest river in the world, from up to down. And they mean like that. So you can see also nice appearance when you have a look on the left hand side behind. There you can see the appearance of the bridge Praia Tujman, Dr. Praia Tujman.
Scenic. The way the coast goes as well, you sort of get everything.
He was killed by the local Mexicans. He was murdered. And there is really not everything yet. The nephew of Maximilian.
Just arrived in a city or town called Ston. S-T-O-N. Have amazing names. Ston, Splits, you know. And all that. It's very sunny. It's a lot more warmer than we thought it would be.
Yeah.
You know. It's lovely.
And then you end up, this is your raw material here.
Exactly, yes. This is bigger. So we could say regular salt.
It's more
This
like a
is
rock
how,
salt.
how it comes from. Then it's grinded into some smaller pieces. And so on. So pure natural salt, no additives, no chemicals.
No.
No. Ah.
So because table salt's got a lot of sodium in it.
How do you make it? So just from what you're explaining?
Well, so in April and May we clean the salt rocks. In June we let the new seawater in. If we have ideal weather with lot of sun and no, about 45 days is needed to get the salt from seawater to salt at the end.
And people are still buying salt now?
Yes.
All, is it sold all over Europe? Or?
Well, no, because we produce very small amount of salt for food. About 80% is sold for the industrial purposes, for the roads in the wintertime and also this kind of salt for food can be bought only in this region in Croatia, not even in the whole Croatia.
Wow. And what's the taste like? The salt?
Well, it has a little bit special taste. You need to taste it.
Okay. We'll come and see you and see if that's, so this is the salt. Yeah, so far it's been a pretty good break, pretty good holiday, and as I said, the people are friendly and we're enjoying it so far. I haven't seen many people from Nigeria, Ghana or other parts of Africa yet, or the Caribbean, but nonetheless we've got a few people that are travelling with us from the UK that are from Nigeria that we met, mother and the daughter.
Oh, sorry, excuse me.
Hotel. It's different from the first one. Got a lovely staircase that I like. It sort of sweeps right down to the next floor. Very interesting way. I mean, it's got a lovely pool there. I'm not sure if that's part of the hotel. Probably is. And there's lots of different sort of villas and stuff all around. And you've got the mountain, lovely mountain behind it. This one is you get dinner at 6:30 apparently, and you get breakfast as well. So tomorrow morning about 6:30 in the morning. I hope they got gym. But I'm a bit tired because we've been on the tours, you know. So it does knacker you. So I'm not sure if I'm going to go to the gym today. Cold this morning. It's been raining as well. So yeah, but I'm sure it'll warm up a little bit later on. Been enjoying Croatia. It's been nice. People have been nice, and it's more like a relaxing holiday. You know, somewhere you go and chill. Obviously, during the summer holiday, it's a lot more busier from June to August, and there's a lot more things happening. You get some famous DJs come to Croatia to play music, etc. But I can't fault it. It's got nice food, nice people, nice accommodation. Enjoying it very much at the moment.
If you go down past this little house,
Yeah.
you'll see a board with a map and a lot of information.
Oh, okay.
That's just-
It's quite mountainous, you know.
Welcome to Split, the second largest city of Croatia. My name is Hrvoje and I will show you Diocletian's palace. So Split is a massive peninsula surrounded from three sides by the sea and has two massive mountains in the back. 160,000 people live here, and if you ask me what we do for a living, I have no idea. We all kind of work in tourism, those who don't work in the shipyard or by the port or something like that. So this is the third biggest passenger harbor on the Mediterranean Sea. On the other side of the peninsula is a massive shipyard. It's very well known because there we've built dams that protect Venice from floods, and also the longest sailboat in the world, which is 160 meters long, and it was ordered by a company from Monaco, and when it was finished they came to renegotiate the price, so the owner of the shipyard just told them to go away, and now it's still here. So I don't know, if you have like 200 grandchildren, you're in the right city to get a boat for a nice family trip. Anyway, the city started off more about 2000 years ago. And you see, us Croatians were not the original natives of Croatia. We came here in the 7th century. So the Greeks were before us here, and also the Romans. So the name of the city is Greek, and it's not connected to the English language. We're not splitting anything in half, even though, funny fact, above the city is a split between the mountains. But split comes from a Greek word called aspalatos, and it's the name for the Spanish broom. So that's the plant under the palm tree that you see over there. So originally a tiny little Greek settlement on which a Roman emperor built himself a cozy little palace for his retirement. So the emperor's name was Diocletian. He was born in the middle of the 3rd century, and when he was around 40 years old, he became the emperor of the Roman Empire. So city next to Split, that's where he was born. Salona was the name. As he took the throne, there was a big issue. The average emperor lasted 2 to 3 years, so it wasn't quite the best job in the world. And because he wanted to live longer than the rulers before him, he decided to split the empire, first into 2 parts and then into 4. It's called tetrarchy, or system of 4 emperors. There were 2 older emperors and 2 younger emperors who they adopted as sons and married their daughters to them. So it's like a brother marrying a sister, but it's history. That's a pretty common thing, you know. They developed the system of 4 emperors. They had an idea that you would, they agreed up with each other that you would rule 20 years and then give the throne to the younger ones. So they don't get power hungry and they don't have to wait forever like the King of England to get to the throne. So the emperor knew one day he would retire, but he didn't know where to go. And he was a bit homesick, so he ordered the people of the Roman Empire to make him a nice little palace by the seaside next to his hometown. So for 10 years, between 295 and 305 AD, more than 10,000 workers were working on the palace. And today, that's the city center. So the palace starts with this tower, goes for about 220 yards to the end of the tower up there. Looks like a house now. And 185 to that building with the green shutters and the red roof. So that's 40,000 square meters, so that's probably about 400,000 square just for one single person. When he moved into his palace, he was around 60 years old, and he lived the last 10 years of his life being worshipped as a god, having 1,000 servants and 400,000 square foot. So best ancient retirement I ever heard of. So Split wasn't a city, it was the biggest retirement home in history. And throughout history it did change to become a city. Now we will move by the palm trees and go to that picture there. There we can see how the palace used to look like and what's actually left of it today. Building, because from the 3 land sides it was built like a fortress with a total of 16 towers, and the south side was a very nice mansion by the seaside. So we would be here in the sea, and something must have changed because you're not swimming right now. That means that the promenade was created artificially because Split was a massive port in the medieval times. So originally the tower here is the tower behind us, and you can still see the mansion of the emperor up there. You can notice 2 things. First, it's high up. So the palace was built on a slope, and to level the building ground, the workers built basements first, and then on the first floor his mansion. Second thing, you see many windows without houses. So that means that when people moved in here and started building the city within the palace, as they were running out of space, they started to build their homes into the palace walls. And by maintaining their houses, they actually maintained accidentally and preserved the palace itself. So it's simple math, because it's easier to make 3 walls instead of 4, you know. So that's why the palace is still here, and today it's UNESCO World Heritage as the best preserved ancient villa in the world. So Diocletian lived in the south. The middle part was the religious area with 2 massive Roman temples and a huge square in the center of it, and north part was for servants and for soldiers. So there were about 1,000 people living in and outside of this place who were either mercenaries protecting him or servants doing as he wished. Split has 4 gates. That makes it almost impossible to get lost. We lost 2 people in 6 years. I think that's pretty fair. And the gates have names of metals. So it wasn't decorated with metals, rather the value of the metal represented how important it was for the city. Of course, the main gate is called Golden Gate, East Gate is silver, South Gate is bronze, and West Gate is the Iron Gate. And if you take a look, the 4 gates create 2 alleys and they cross each other on the central square. So remember for later, wherever you happen to be, you just walk downstairs, and when you see the palm trees and the sea, you turn left to get to the bus. Important to notice is also to mention the western wall doesn't exist anymore, because as they were running out of space, the people had to tear down the wall and expand in that direction. So basically the Iron Gate is the city center today, and the Sea Gate, called the Bronze Gate, is the gate we'll be taking to get in the palace. Originally it was just a few meters wide, and it was a little dock for delivery boats and an escape if someone attacks the palace. That's why it was the smallest one, very modest, not decorated, because why would anyone decorate the back door to their basement, you know? And you'll notice as we get closer to it, we will go down about 4 or 5 foot, because the sea level back then was about 6 foot lower than it is today. So the promenade had to be built higher, so when it's windy like today, the basements do not flood. So South Gate in, North Gate out. And in the meantime, all of that is the palace itself. I have this nice little umbrella, you can follow it. Hopefully it stays closed, and yeah, it's called the Riva. So we have 3 promenades. The one you got off from the bus, that's called the East. This is the central one, the Riva, and that's the West Promenade over there. This is where we like to drink our coffee. We drink macchiato, which is coffee with a little bit of milk, and if we were not drinking coffee, I don't know how we will get water into our system any other way. You know, when you order coffee here, you normally get a glass of water with it, because we like to chat a lot, and once we sit down, you can't get rid of us. And I really mean it, because the average coffee here lasts for 3/4 of an hour, and then you have 2-3 like that, and that's a good recipe for a relaxed lifestyle, high blood pressure, and a bad economy. But you can't have everything in life. Also for later, there are a few public toilets around the city, but it's easier to just sit at any cafe and order a coffee and use their toilet for free. So yeah, when we're done, back to the promenade, get some vitamin D, and now let's go over there inside the palace.
Looks more like a dungeon than a palace, isn't it?
Very dark.
Very dark. But anyway.
And that's an Egyptian city, as you might know. So at the end of his reign, he suffocated a massive riot in Egypt, and he stayed there for a whole year. In that year, he picked and shipped himself to his new home more than 200 granite columns and 12 Sphinx statues. But yeah, everybody did it after him, but he started the trend, yeah. So that Sphinx is original, and all the columns as well coming from Egypt. That's the only one of the 12 still standing. You see, our ancestors who founded this city, they were already Christian, And as good Christians, they destroyed every heretic symbol in the palace. They didn't like the Sphinx because it's human hands and a human head on the body of a lion. So they did the easiest thing. They smashed the heads and threw away the body. This one was spared because the people here were always superstitious, and they started to believe that that statue was cursed. They named her Gorgona, and Gorgona's curse was so strong that it was still common practice in the time of my grandparents to cover your face as when you would walk across the square, not to have bad luck for the rest of the day. But I should have mentioned it sooner. By the ruins of Salona, and then our ancestors brought his remains to the new city, threw out the emperor's remains and put the remains of his victim in his place. So the saint of the city is the victim of the founder of the city, and the relics of the victim are in the spot of the son of Jupiter. So that's how this became a church and a cathedral later. Because this was a mausoleum for the first 300 years, it's one of the oldest active cathedrals in the world today. This is one of the three land gates. We call it the Silver Gate. When you go through the Silver Gate and behind the kiosk, there's the farmers market of Split. So our farmland is behind the mountains, by the highways, and every morning the farmers drive down here and they try to sell what they're producing. So most of the things here are homemade, except if you see a banana or an avocado or something in that fashion. Also, you can see how the whole street here is arched. So back then the palace already had a rainwater disposal system, sewage system, and running water. And on your way to Trogir, your next stop, you will drive by a gas station. You will see a massive aqueduct made by the Romans for the palace, and we still use it today for the tap water here in the old town. We rebuilt it, we modernized it. We are not using lead pipes, which would be, we would be crazier than we are, so by default, so yeah. Dubrovnik was heavily bombarded, you probably heard that, and you see the roofs are all new. But Split was the exception, because when things got rough, the Croatian Navy is stationed here in Split. Back then it used to be the Yugoslav, so all the people who were capable blocked the entrance to the Navy with everything they had. One ship managed to flee, and that ship was bombarding the city of Split. And uniquely, I don't think that ever happened in history before. That ship bombarded the city, and it was named after the city. So the ship Split bombarded Split. Only luckily they were not very precise, and only 3 people passed away, and that's how the war ended in Split basically. So we were pretty lucky, and the people intervened right on time. So no major damage here. So this here is the Golden Gate, the main entrance to the city. 5 niches for statues were there. So in the center was an eagle, on the sides the 4 emperors. On the consoles were decorative columns, probably from granite like the big ones, and way on top were statues of the Roman gods. Every 50 yards was a massive defensive tower, and the towers used to be connected through a massive corridor as well. And those corridors are now the blind windows up there, because they're all part of the houses of the people who live here. So there are more than 1,000 people still living in the old town of Split, and more than 90% of the old town is private property, And those who own anything here, they're pretty wealthy, and they just rent out their property and they don't have to work. So traditionally, as Croatians, we only invest our money. It's a thing from the 60s and 70s because of high fluctuations in the value of the money, we traditionally only invest in property. And because this is a peninsula and has two mountains, we're running out of space. And this is actually one of the most expensive cities to buy property in Europe when you compare income to the price. Let's say a square meter would cost about 6,000-7,000 euros, and we make 1,000 on average. So yeah, that's how you get immigrants. And we Croatians, we are regulars in Ireland and Germany. So more than 50% of our population is outside of the borders of the country. But yeah, and as we like to say here, it's better to be born without a leg than without luck. So you just have to inherit something and you're good. George of the city Nin was a Croatian bishop who lived in the 10th century, and he was the first man to fight for the language of Croatian, so he wanted it to be used in mass instead of Latin. Unfortunately, his ideas got rejected, but to remember him, a very famous artist, Ivan Meštrović, made this statue. It's been standing here since World War II, and you see his big toe is polished. And legend says if you rub Gergur's big toe, he'll make your wishes come true and you'll come back here eventually. So yeah, we can wish.
Palace, which is almost like a city, to be honest. It's in splits, and we're just going to go and see some, hopefully, Roman artwork, etc. Yeah, so far so good. It's really interesting. Restaurant type areas as well. Interesting shopping.
We got a bit of sun. Very good, yeah.
Ozbiljno, tu je padala noćas i jutro, evo sad je lipo sunce.